Hi guys, welcome back to Scratch Skills. In today's video, we're going to be covering Unit 2 of AP Computer Science A. So in this video, we're going to complete everything over here that is 25 to 35% of the exam, which is the second highest, so make sure you know your Unit 2's selection and iteration. Let's start by understanding the three building blocks: sequence, selection, and repetition. So sequence is when something goes in order, selection is making decisions based on the conditions, and repetition is what loops do. And loops is something that we will be going on to understand in this video. So let's start with something simpler, the equality. When we add one equal sign, it basically means assigning an value like to a variable, but if we add two, it means we're comparing variables. Now this is something that we're going to use a lot in this chapter, so make sure you understand this. When we're using two, we have a true or false. In code, it will look something like this. So since I just used one equal to, it's a variable that we made, but over here, since I have two, it's going to be either true or false. So when we run this, it's going to give me true, since 15 is equal to x, and the exclamation basically means not, so x not equal to 15 is false, and the last one is x greater than 10, which is true. So that is how comparisons work. And make sure you know these are just simple algebra stuff like greater than, less than, and stuff like that. Next, let's go to the first loop, which are if statements. So if statements let the program make decisions. So without an if, everything would just go in sequence, and with it will only go on if the condition's true. So the basic syntax is really simple. It's just if, condition, if it's true, and then the code over there. Now there are three types though. The first one is if it just has if. So if the score is greater than 90, it just returns true. The second one is if and else. So if the score is equal to 90, it's perfect. Else, it's not perfect. Make sure you don't add any brackets in the else. That is a trick question in the MCQs. Next is a three-way selection where it has if, else if, and else. So we have equal to 90, perfect, else if it's not equal to 90, it goes over here, it just returns one off, and if it's not this, it just returns not perfect. Seeing that in code would be something like this. I have the exact one over here. So I have 90 right now, so it's going to be printing exactly 90 when we trace the code. Now if I had 900, it should print greater than 90 because that's the first condition. And that's how it works. Next is nested if. Nested basically means something that's inside one. So over here, nested if is going to be an if condition inside an if condition. This is really simple, not that hard. So over here, I have an example that we can go through. So if x is greater than 10, if that condition is true, then it's going to go to the next condition to check if the score is equal to 90. Notice I don't have a variable that is x, so I'm just going to name it x is equal to 11. So the first condition is true. But what about the second one? Score is equal to 900, so that doesn't run and nothing is returned. So say I made the score equal to 90. Then this code would run and we would get the answer both conditions are true. Right? That is how nested if loops work. I hope you understood that. Next, we're going to go to compound operators. This is fairly simple. There are two of them, which are the and symbols, two and symbols, or two or symbols. So it's the backward slash and shift backward slash if you don't know where to find that symbol. Okay, so then if I have a and b, two variables over here, and a is true and b is true, then a and b are true. If a is true and b is false, then both are false. Same goes over here. And then if all of them are false, all of them are false. So the only place in the and function that's going to be true is if both the conditions are true. Differently in the or area, if if you have a single true in the function, so true, 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 it's just all gonna be true. You just need one true for either to be true. So another thing to make sure is the not symbol that we mentioned, the first, not equal to, like 3 is not equal to 5. That's how you would write it in Java. So this is just something you need to understand for the MCQs. It's fairly simple once you identify it. And the next thing is the De Morgan's laws, and it just says if not both, so this is both, then it's not this or that. If not either, since there's an R symbol, it's not this and it's not that. Fairly simple. It's breaking this code down into like a law version. Next is strings, and I'll be comparing strings. Now, when we're making a string is an object. When you compare if two objects are equal to each other, it's going to give you false because no, they are not in the same memory location and they are not equal to each other. But if you add a dot equals, it compares the contents. Things are inside the string. So both of them have the same contents inside, so it's true. If it's the same order, same everything. And mind you, it is case sensitive, so if you had a capital H, then it wouldn't work. Next, we have while loops, and it keeps repeating when a condition's true. So while loop runs for unknown iterations or 0 iterations, infinite loops, and things like that. So an unknown iteration is like when you don't know how many times your code's gonna run, unlike an if loop where it just checks once and then just moves on. So this is one of the most basic while loops I found out there. So it's int, we name it count, and then if count is lesser than or equal to 5, then it just prints count. So it's just gonna print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I have that written over here for the while loop section. I'm just gonna show you how it prints. It's gonna print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exactly. Don't want any extra code confusing us, so I will cut that off. And then, yes, I traced it and I used Gemini to trace it over here, but make sure you don't. You only use it for study purposes. I've done a lot of code tracing on paper, so I know how to trace code, but then go on to paper, write 1, make 3 columns, and just write count. Is count yes, and then the action taken. Make sure you know how to do that with the scratch paper you use. And then the last type of loop is a for loop, and a for loop is basically used for looping a specific number of times. The format is initialize a variable, test the variable, and update the variable. And then we have whatever code we have in here. A very easy one includes for int I is equal to 1, initialize, the test if I is lesser than or equal to 5, and then the update, then it just prints I. Here, that's how the I we have over here, so it's just gonna print the same thing as the while loop, because that's exactly what we're doing, just printing at the new line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until it is equal to 5 and just stops. And another one over here, tracing table. Please do this on paper. I've done a lot and I know how this works, so you need to know too. Now this is a mind map I have for you to check how this works. Take a screenshot of this if necessary. Just go through it if you ever get stuck. Next, identifying the question types. When we get, these are some of the most common question types you get on the MCQs. It's like, does this infinite loop? And to identify that, that would basically mean there is no code increment. So if the code is E1 plus 1, I would say over here, if I have I minus minus greater than or equal to 5, so it adds, but then it subtracts, and it just keeps going. See, this is an infinite loop, so it will just keep going since the number isn't changing because I'm subtracting and adding 1, which just does nothing. And then another type is what prints. For that we make a trace table, and then how many times does the loop run, that is also a trace table. Next thing is patterns, implementing selection and iteration algorithms like AP CSA says it, but it's just patterns. Now these are where we use all the 3 loops we just learned, so just go through them. If you have the time or the pencil or papers nearby, stop and trace the code. This is accumulator code. This is the finding the minimum code. This is finding the maximum. This is divisibility. We will use this a lot to find even numbers and odd numbers, so make sure you know that. Then this is digits of number, to remove the last digit of a long number, or we divide it, and to take the last digit, we modulo it. And the frequency counter is something we use a lot too, and this comes a lot in trace tables. So all of these 5, 6 problems I showed were like very common patterns. Not that simple, but if you get the pattern, then it's going to be easier for you. So make sure you pause and go back and try to trace them. Next is nested for loops. Like nested if loops, we can add a for loop inside a for loop to get whatever we are looking for. So over here I have this pattern, so I'm gonna take my eraser, just erase that, and I will trace this code with you so that you guys actually know how to trace code. So first it goes int row, the initialization is 0, okay, int is greater than 3, so it's gonna run 3 times. So since that is true, it goes over here 0 to 5. It's gonna print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Because we keep going again and again and again until it's reached 5. Actually, it reaches 4 because this is not, so 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Then it prints on a new line. It goes and does the same thing. And then on a new line, because it runs 3 times, so this is 0, 1, 2. And over here we should have something like this. It's a bit wobbly, but you get the point. There's gonna be 3 by 5 rows. Oh, I should remove this since this was an infinite loop. It's gonna never end. So we'll run. Oh, okay. In my code over here, I don't have the system.out.print. And then I was surprised there for a minute. I was like, oh, we did it wrong. So over here we have 3x5 stars over here. That's how you trace code. Lastly but not least is strings. So indexing works from first character 0, and the last one is the length minus 1. Index of something finds where it is. So index of A, the first A comes at 0, 1, so it gives 1, and if it's not found anything, it's -1. The length gives how many characters, so the length of hello wouldn't start at 0, it would start at 1 and give us 5. The indexing would go 0 to 4. Substring is, it cuts a part of the string and it gives it to us, so 1 to 4 would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one's not included, so it's just going to be ELL. For substring A, it's going to go from A to end. So if I have substring 2, 0, 1, 2, to end. Yes, that is all that is there in Unit 2. If you have any doubts, make sure you ask me in the comment box below or rewatch the video. Do learn the accumulation patterns and all that stuff. Hope this video helped. Thank you. See you next one. Bye.